All right. Hey, everybody. Looks like I got a couple people in here. Pretty excited to do a stream again. I said last time I wasn't sure how often I would do this, and I'm still not quite sure. So it's fun, though, so I want to keep doing it as much as I can. And sorry if you're missing a meal or you had to leave for a meal, but I'll keep this video up on demand so you guys can watch it later if needed. And go ahead and give me a shout out if there's anything off with the audio. Otherwise, I'm going to get going. So welcome. I've got Skepsis, James, and Teo Murgy. It's good to have you guys on. So I'm going to go ahead and start up Aseprite, which I should have done this before I got on here. Wow, that is not how you spell Aseprite. Hey, 7Sim. Good to have you. Yes, I love being able to share time, and if I can make time on Fridays like this, or I think last time it was actually a Thursday, but okay, so today I'm open to any suggestions or requests, but what I'm going to be working on is, I guess, art for the upcoming Shopkeeper. So we've just been, going through the Action RPG tutorial series, and I'm still pretty heavily focused on that. And I'm going to be building this Shopkeeper. I know a lot of people want a store or a Shopkeeper. And so I want to create some art assets for it because that's always something that's kind of slows me down, I guess, is being able to get the art assets ready. And, I've struggled with being able to know, okay, should I make a video about how I make this? And for now, I'm doing that with these live streams. So anyways, I'm going to make a new, actually, maybe I should do this first. Maybe I'll pull up a couple examples of maybe some of the artwork that I want to use as a reference. So for those of you who are not normally artists or haven't done art a lot and you're trying to get into pixel art for your game, one thing that I think a lot of people assume is that artists are just really good at just making stuff up. And that might be kind of true, but that's definitely a skill that can be developed. And it really depends on a person's visual library, like the things that they are able to pull from their memory, and especially things that they've practiced. And what I mean by that is, have they drawn things of a similar type before? So, maybe you've had friends that were like really good at drawing, and maybe they're good at drawing a certain type of thing because they just practice that. But then if you were to ask them, hey, can you draw like a landscape? And they always draw anime characters, they might be like, no, I don't do that. So yeah, I want to pull up some reference images. What I guess where I was going with that is every good artist uses references. Whether they're looking at a still life, like they have a scene set up, or if they have photographs, or even references that other artists have created, all that's good to go. What's the first E sneak in there? I'm not sure. Let's see. Welcome, Pixie. Glad you could be here as well. Yeah, no, I can't spell Aseprite. Yeah, that's what James is talking about. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me pull up something. In fact, let me pull up Discord first, because in my supporters lounge, James actually posted this. Let me pull up this image. I asked if there was anything anybody wanted to see for this Shopkeeper, and he was getting ready for a D&D session, and he mentioned this fish in the bowl. And I can't remember how to pronounce this. I don't play D&D a whole lot, but it's like Xanathar, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to have a fishbowl. We'll put that in there. And then I kind of, sometimes I like to build up a lot of reference and a lot of images to go off of, but let me just show you a couple things I grabbed. And man, I was upstairs talking to the fam. Did not have time to get a couple things prepped. So give me just a second here. So here we go. Okay, here we go. I've just got a couple images that I found that I liked the mood of. So like, this is just some pixel art. Now this doesn't quite fit with the style of what we've been doing in the Action RPG tutorial series, but one thing I liked about this was the really like muted and analogous color palette. It's like all reds and purples and things like that. It's very cool and very moody. I don't think we'll quite go for this, but I like it for the shop. I've also got another one here. This one has some lighting. And maybe that would be something fun that we do as part of that next bit of series, is add some fun lighting. And let's see. Another good example. This is interesting. So like going back and forth, this pixel art and this one, there's quite a bit of minor detail variations in the coloring and the shading, you know. But this next one is very, I would say flat, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's very cell shaded, right? Like the planks only have 3 colors, it looks like, in their whole palette. They've got the dark lines, the light lines, and then maybe a little in between for some shading. And everything in the scene kind of has that, but I really like this. Something like this is a little bit simpler, especially if you're new, because you can focus on the shapes and basic colors as opposed to trying to, you know, work out all of this gradual shading and things like that. Hey, welcome everybody. John Mark and Juvix. I am the goat. I am not a goat, but I understand what you mean. Here's another fun one. This one's cool. There's some little bit of lighting going on, and I don't know what this was pulled from, and somebody circled this little table with the little mugs on the counter there. But these are all good examples, especially over here. This is a good example of what a shop might look like. And lastly, this last example is not even quite pixel art. It's just like a map, possibly for a D&D campaign. I'm not sure what this was used for, but I just love the colors in it. And so I pulled it up. It's got this tan and light blue color scheme going on. Some purples. Very cool. But see, this is interesting. Some oranges. This is interesting because looking at this scene, this one's probably one of the most pleasing to the eye, and it might not be obvious. So if for those of you who aren't, don't have much of an art background or have any study that, the color use in this example is really excellent. So you've got primary color is actually like orange, you know, but it's lightened up so it looks kind of tan, but you've got some oranges here. And then they have a complementary color, if you're familiar with that, like on a color wheel, that's like on the opposite side of the color wheel. That's the blue. That's where that comes in. And then purple is somewhat complementary as well. So they've just kind of mixed that in and done a really good job. So there's a very limited color palette. I mean, there's some greens and reds and stuff like that in here, but it's mostly the orange and the blue. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off to my second monitor and let's get started. James Nye says, looks good, but seems AI generated. Yeah, I think some of these might be. It's kind of hard nowadays to know what is or what isn't. Some of these definitely seem hand-drawn, but yeah. I'm not a big fan of AI-generated art, even though some of it is absolutely stunning. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to create a new document. Now, if we're making a room, let's say we want to use this to make multiple rooms, then we would want to make like a tile sheet like we've had in the Action RPG series. But another thing we can do is you can just draw a room and just make it look like it was made with a tile sheet. And that's okay, but I guess there needs to be a good balance, especially when it comes to art production. If everything is custom made, then it can take a lot longer. So you have to know kind of the size and scope of the game you're making. If you've got an artist, what's their time constraints? But what I'm going to do to begin is I'm actually going to just assume that we're going to make most of this room. So I'm going to use a power of 2 number, 256 by 256. And I'm just going to create a new canvas for this because I do kind of want to start with just a general, like just draw the room, like pretend like we're just not making a sprite sheet, but we're actually just making the whole room. And what we'll do with this, yeah, James says that the logic of that layout was kind of wrong. It was kind of weird. I think I just love the colors. But hey, Bloodbath, welcome back. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a room here, and we'll draw in some things. And then what we can do is, hopefully we have time to get to this today, is we can split pieces out to parts that we can use in a tile type format, and other things we can just use as giant chunks. But one thing I want to do to make sure that this is compatible is I just turned on, so control, what is that, quote? I don't know what that is. Yeah, I guess that's the quote key. We'll turn on and off this grid. And what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have this set up. So you can see I've got a grid in the background, and I've also got this purple grid that I just turned on. And I can't remember if this is in preferences under edit. I think it is. Yeah, here we go. So we've got a grid. We can see that we've got 16 by 16 for our guides. We've got colors we can pick. But what I want to do is I actually want to change this to, because I tend to use a 32 by 32 grid. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply. So you can see here now my grid is 32 pixels by 32 pixels. And you can change this background grid to this checkerboard pattern. But I actually like having this pattern be half the size of the grid, because then I have a little bit of guidance within that grid space if I want it, you know. So I'm going to just go ahead and say okay. And then one thing that I often will do is just kind of fill an area with whatever color I want to be kind of my general background color. And I want to show you let's see. It's not doing what I want it to do. Sometimes you can eyedrop stuff off screen if you click and drag, but it doesn't seem to be working today. Maybe I'm thinking of a different software program that I do that with. But I want to start for the shop. I'm going to just pick one of these and let's go with this one for now. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to quite match it perfectly, but maybe we want some of these colors, right? I think it's got some good colors in here. Yes, I am using a mouse to draw to Murgy. How do I choose what palette to work with? So I usually just keep this default and then I play with it, but you can open palettes. So under this little menu here for options, you can edit the palette, or you can, let's see, where's load palette. And I think there are a couple good palettes in here. So no, never mind. I don't have a palette. I thought that there was some preset palettes. I almost never do. So I don't know. But you can do a new palette from a sprite or something like that. So let's actually try that for fun real quick. I'm just going to drag this shop in here. And nope, I don't want all those. I just want the one. Okay, so I'm going to drag. Oh, there we go. It did give me just the one. Okay. So we could take this, and you can see actually just by opening this, it created a color palette for me. This color palette is crazy and not really easy to work with. That's why I was saying, like, there's a lot of subtle shading in here, and some of this is because of the JPEG artifacting. It's kind of picking colors that maybe the artist didn't originally put in the piece, okay? Because I didn't pull up a clean, right? This is not a clean version of the artwork. But if you had that, you could then just come in here and you could like save the palette. But because this is so messy, I'm not going to keep it, but maybe I will use it to eyedrop some colors, you know? Like I like this orangey color for the floor, so right there. Just Alt and left click will eyedrop. And then if you wanted to, you know, we could just, I can't even remember, guys. I can't remember right now because I never work with palettes. There we go. That little exclamation does it. So adds the foreground to the palette. I was trying to just click on the thing. So you could just develop your palette as you go. And when you get a color that you like, just go in and add it. So I'm going to real quick just draw, kind of box off an area. And then I'm just going to fill it. Kind of sloppy, but I just want to start with some floor planks. Let's see. Rin, the folder besides it. I'm not sure. I think I missed part of what that conversation is, but oh yeah, I think you were giving me a hint. I drop the colors out of the program. It needs to be added if they don't support it. Yeah, I think I'm used to using a few other software programs, Jim, that allow you to do that. It's pretty nice, but hey, Yamada, welcome to the stream. Okay, so if we've got a shop, I'm going to say we've got plank floors, and you know what else we should do? Let's open our player sprite, and I just want to grab this guy. I'm just going to Control A to select all, and then Shift Control C to copy all the layers, and then I'll just create a new layer here where I can paste him. That way I've got a reference. I can drag my player around as I'm drawing and just see how things look, you know, as I'm working on it. And actually, you know what? I'm looking at the size of this. Probably going to want to make this sprite sheet larger, but for now, we'll just work with what we've got. Okay, so here's our player. And I'm thinking we need walls, we need basic walls, and we need floor. But it's good to just kind of start with one piece at a time. So let's get some floor going. I'm just going to take this orange color and just darken it a little bit. And sometimes with shadows, you know, it kind of depends on how you're doing your coloring and your lighting. But for this, because it's inside and I want it warm, I'm going to actually kind of just drag the hue slider closer to red. So I get a darker red color. And then I'm just going to draw some, I'm probably going to do this across two here so that I can get a good sample of what this might look like. Yeah, having the player in here can help a lot. And, you know, some people will be very, I want to say, strict about how they do their color palettes here. I need to put like a line along the edge and assume that there's going to be a board there. And maybe the boards aren't all straight. And I think I kind of want to get rid of this line. And so I'm just going to try, I'm just trying to figure out how I want these spaced, like how big these boards should be. Because I'm seeing I've got a little bit of a problem here, right? I need like 2 more boards in here, and they don't have to be perfect, although they could, because I know I've got 32 pixels to work with. I could do some math and try and make it nice and perfect. There we go. Okay, so here we've got a few boards. Now, if I was making a floor that had this board kind of pattern, what I would do is, instead of just having one 32 by 32 pixel, I would have several so that I'm not, I did that on the wrong layer, guys. Do that all the time. So that I'm not having too many repeating patterns. So I'm just going to take this though real quick. Control X, go down to layer 1, paste it in there, and then I'll lock my player layer for right now. So then what we can do is take, like we could take this section here, and there's a really nice handy shortcut in Aseprite. It's Control B. And what it'll do is it'll take your selection and just create a brush out of it. So now you could just paint this all over, right? You could just come in here and click it in a few different places and kind of create some area to start working on. And something I want to do though is I want to kind of introduce, and then you get to get your brush back, you can just come up here and like pick the square or something. But I want to introduce a little bit more variation in here. I want to keep this grid on though, because it's going to help me make sure that I'm kind of working within my bounds. I'm just going to select this and hit Shift H, Shift V. I guess these ones, there's not a whole lot of things to change, but I could just come in here maybe and just grab this, drag it over. I don't know, just to get a different pattern on some parts of it. I don't want to spend too much time on the spacing of these planks, but, and actually I just kind of made a mistake there. I didn't want to draw it up here. Anyways, we've got some planks. And then what I would want to do is I kind of just want to add a little bit of variation to these. This is a good time when you might want to turn off the guidelines just to be able to see it as it is. And I can turn on the player again maybe for a second. But just grab this player and stick him over here. We need to give a little bit of shading. And one handy way to do shading if you're starting out, let's say we just want some simple basic colors. I already picked a dark color and I've got a light color. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just pick my dark color and then come down here and just make the alpha somewhere in the middle. Roughly 50% is a good way to do it. And then you can just draw. And then once you get that in there, you can just eyedrop that color. I'm going to add these to my palette real quick. But once you eyedrop that, it's no longer a transparent color. You see that? It's now the solid version of that color. And so we can come in here and use this to draw, you know, some wood-like patterns and things like that. And just some random vertical lines is all we need to start. I'm kind of curious how far, yeah, I'm going down. And I'm only probably going to create a few of these, probably not too many. And you know what? I don't care if I mess up like that a little bit, because I can come back and fix it. One thing that's nice about pixel art is it's easy to alter. It's easy to correct mistakes because you've just got a limited number of pixels and a limited number of colors to work with. Makes it nice. But I got to turn off my player so I can see these ones a little bit better. Okay, it's looking all right. It might be a little bit busy for my taste, honestly. And by busy, I mean maybe too many lines, but let's go ahead and just flesh out a couple of these sections. I think I'm going to take this section right here and finish that out. So I'm probably not going to use anything down below that, you know, anything here or anything there. Just these, what is that, 6? Okay. So let's see, how do I want to lighten this up? Let me take my player, just stick him on top, turn off my grid. Man, okay. I mean, it looks okay, but I would like it a lot more subtle. So, you know, taking this reference image, you know, the color difference between these is pretty faint, right? And I like that. So let's go ahead and just do this. I'm going to take I'm going to just make a new layer. And I'm going to get my brush and I'm going to take a color. And actually, I kind of want to make this a little bit, maybe a little bit more saturated, a little bit more orange. And maybe a little bit more red. Okay. We're going to do something crazy here. I'm just going to make a big brush. Color over that. And then just take this layer and we can just drop the opacity until we get, you know, what it's going to do is it's going to kind of add this color across the board. And that'll decrease the contrast a little bit. I'm not sure I love the orange, but I'm going to go ahead and merge that down. And then as we're working, what we can do is I'm just going to, I mean, I'm working in kind of a messy fashion, but it makes it easy. I could just come here and just select this, do a Control-Shift-I, which will invert the selection and hit delete. And there we go. I've just got some floor tiles now. Okay. So you can see it's just clean that up, get rid of all that extra crap that I had. And then obviously, assuming I like this color, which I kind of think I do, I'm going to come back in here and maybe clean up some of these lines a little bit. And maybe even add some variation, you know, some dark bits, like there's some knots in the wood or something. But see, how's everybody doing on, it's Valentine's Day. It's kind of a weird day to do a stream, I guess. I don't know how many of you are celebrating Valentine's Day. Hopefully some of you. And if you're not, hopefully you don't care so much. Hopefully you're in a good place. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that these need to be able to tile nicely, meaning they need to be able to line up nicely with each other. So I'll show you how we can check that here in just a second, but I just want to finish a little bit more. Lunch and drinks with the wife already? Nice, nice. Yeah, some of you mentioned it's late. It's like dinner time or something. I did some donuts and flowers this morning. Donuts and flowers? Did I say flowers or flour? Kind of a nice morning. Doing pixel art. Yes. Yes, Rin. Pixel art is, I don't know, it can be actually quite relaxing to me. Okay, so I probably need more dark spots spread throughout to even this out. So I'll just do a little bit more real quick and then. Now, what I was mentioning before is we need to make sure that this kind of tiles, and I'm going to turn on my grid, makes it a little bit easier to see. If I were to select this, right, and then use that Control-B to do a brush and paste it right down here, we'll kind of get a good idea of how well these line up. And you can see that they do not line up so well, right? Because we've got just some issues with how we've adjusted some of these lines, and especially the lines in the middle. They're the most grievous examples of not lining up. So what we can do is kind of connect some of these, and that'll be enough to maybe fix it, right? Anywhere there's a hard, obvious cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that line somehow. And I'll put this grid line back on so you can see that's where that, I mean, it's obvious where that cut is, right? But kind of want to just get rid of that. And I'm just working on the bottom half of this set of textures or tiles. Now this tile sheet is going to tile really well across this, but if you want each tile to tile with each other, then this process that I'm doing right now where I've duplicated it, you kind of have to do it on a per tile basis or come up with some other solution because, yeah, otherwise you're still going to have tiling issues depending how you decide to work with the sprite sheet. Now I just drew it right there, which I guess means I need to do that up here. Boink. Okay. And actually there's a pretty easy way to carry some of those changes over. So let's just do this. Let's just assume I want to connect more of these. Okay. So now if I turn this off, the line's a little bit less obvious. It's still pretty obvious right through here. So let's go ahead and just break this up by adjusting how some of these lines jog. And that's going to help a lot, just those couple changes. Yeah, I've got a few more. I don't love that they're repeating so often. Their positioning. Okay. So now what I'm going to have to do, because I drew on both sides, I'm going to just take this top edge down a few pixels, and I'll do a Control B, and I'm just going to plop this in on the top of my sprite sheet up here. Okay, there we go. My zoom is really sensitive right now. Sorry, guys. I'm probably like causing you to get sick or something. I don't know. Is there such thing as like pixel art sickness? Okay. I'm liking it. All right, so far. Hey, that's probably how I would start with doing some flooring. Now we can use this flooring and there we go. We've got, you know, we've got 6 tiles that we could bring into our game now. And we could test some of these for fun. I'm just going to go hit Control B and maybe make a new layer. And I'll just draw it right over here. And now if I turn this off, you can kind of see how this fits. It actually fits all right in some of these scenarios. Not perfectly. Doesn't fit very well right there. Right? But if we always draw these in this chunk of 6 pixels, then, or 6 tiles, then it'll kind of keep it nice. Do I use the mirror mode for making tiles? Sometimes I do, yeah. We'll do that today. I'm going to drag this floor down a little bit if I select the right layer. So the mirror mode that James is referring to is super handy, especially when you're doing characters or things that might be very symmetrical. Characters aren't always symmetrical, right? But maybe for drawing a face or something like that. If they're straight on, it could be. But let's assume now we need to do walls. And I want to just pull up, maybe I should pull up a reference of how we've done walls in the Action RPG series so far, so that we can kind of keep the style consistent. Let me pull up the dungeon tiles. I've got this music playing. I hope it's not too distracting. Hi, Eric. Welcome. Wait, what's going on? Oh my gosh, did I just try and load? I just tried to load Godot scene. Okay, that doesn't work obviously in Sprite. Okay, where did I go? Game dev, Action RPG tutorial. Sorry, I'm on one of my other monitors here, guys. Kind of boring for you. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of an example of, like in our dungeon, if we look at the grid on this one, our walls are generally 2 tiles tall. Oh, James says he can't hear the music at all. I mean, I have audio ducking, so when I'm talking, the music's going to be pretty quiet, and it's pretty low to begin with, so I don't know. Or maybe it's not working. I'm seeing little things wiggle on my OBS, so I think it's working, but... Okay, so let's just take an example. And actually, I kind of like the brick wall. Maybe we just change it and alter it for the shop. So if I just were to copy that and bring it over here to my sprite and paste it in. Let me paste this on a second layer so that it's separate from my flooring. Because, yeah, I'm going to move the floor down. Let's move the floor down so that we've got space to work here. Okay, there we go. So one thing that I've got with this wall is it's designed to kind of have a little pixel to give a little bit of shading to the floor area. And I want to keep that. In fact, I might even take it a step further. So let me just take a section of this flooring here. Probably right across here. Across the top. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come up to my wall layer and I'm going to paste it and I'm going to do a Shift V, which will just flip it vertically. Okay, so that it'll mirror right there. And then what we'll do is our wall is going to come down onto this floor. But we'll add a little bit of shading. It'll kind of give a nice... Yeah, I don't know if I should turn up the volume too loud, Jim, either. I don't want to... I know having music in the background of my videos was a huge mistake I made early. in the process, but for a live stream, it seems kind of nice, at least for me. I don't know. And I've got this kind of goofy, you know, I don't know if I should call it goofy, but it's just like free stream friendly music playing. So yeah, let's work on this wall a little bit though. And really what we need is we only need maybe to just work on this section of bricks at the top, and then we can paste it down here. And but the coloring is all wrong. So there's a couple ways to handle colors here in Aseprite. But one thing I like to do is I'll just highlight a color, especially when we've got such a small palette, and just turn off this continuous option for the gradient tool. So G is the shortcut for gradient for the paint bucket or the gradient tool. And what I'll do is, you know, let's see, let's pick one of these colors, and then let's just skew it towards the other side of red a little bit, so it's kind of purpley. And then I'm going to darken it a little bit. And then I'm just going to click on this dark color for the bricks. And then we'll do a similar thing here. So one thing that's nice is if you have areas that are in shadow, is to make the colors cooler or more blue than their counterparts that are not in shadow. This is way too red maybe, but... And then this, really I want to get more towards orange again for the highlights, but... There we go. I mean, that's kind of... Looks kind of old school. Kind of 8-bit-ish. It's kind of ugly, but it's not terrible. It could be worse. Could be worse. Tio Murgy says the volume's okay. I'm going to get some water anyway, so I'm going to mute myself for a second. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to work on this wall. In fact, I'm not 100% sure I'm loving the brick idea, but let's just go with it for a minute because it does save a little bit of effort. And, oops, I kind of, aside from not loving this color, which is fine, it's easy to change color, right, with just a few clicks. I kind of want to just change the style of these bricks. These bricks that we have here are really rough looking, I guess. So let's assume that the bricks are a lot cleaner. I'm going to draw some hard edges across the top real quick. Let's just see how this feels. And yeah, for the side, I don't know. You know, generally what I've got going on here is the bricks have like lighting from the top left slightly. And actually, if we look at the floor, it's not obvious if there's any directionality to the light. So I can stick with that. Control U. Yeah, I can use that saturation. Hue and saturation. So just looking at this, I'm gonna come down here and draw some different colors here, maybe. Increase the size of the palette here. But what we're gonna, since I want cleaner looking bricks, right? Like this is a nice shop as opposed to a dingy dungeon. I'm gonna just do some stuff like this. And what we'll do is clean up a section and then maybe we'll just repeat it. Yeah, we probably need to get an in-between reddish color in here as well. Yeah, there we go. So that we don't have quite as harsh lighting. But you can see these bricks right here are super clean compared to those ones, right? These little dashes, they kind of introduce a bit of a rough appearance to the edges. And, you know, for bricks, we might want a little bit of that. Maybe in the form of some little dots and specks throughout. Okay. But we don't want a ton, maybe. So there we go. A little bit of pattern to the bricks, but kind of mix it up. So what we can do is I'm just going to go ahead and like select a brick, hit Control B. I'm just going to paste or paint this in a few spots. And I'll do the same with a few other sections. You know, we want to make sure we don't have like the same brick repeating too often. Otherwise it becomes a noticeable pattern and that looks not so good. I don't know the shortcut to change back to the default brush. Is it one of these? I don't know. There's got to be a shortcut. If anybody knows that, go ahead and shout it out in the comments. I don't know how many of you have even had a chance to see the latest video I dropped this morning about swapping the sprites on the player. Curious if anybody's seen that yet. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. It's kind of fun. And I know some people probably want to see like a complete system where you I want to say ragdoll, not ragdoll, like a paper doll kind of system. B? Well, I think B, if you have, Rin is saying maybe B to get back. If I hit Control B and I have this, B just keeps it on that brush because this is now my brush and the brush tool. B is the shortcut for the brush tool. Yeah. So I don't know. There's got to be a way. Oh yeah, James. Yeah, it's funny, James. I think I tried to get creative and say, oh, maybe the short sword should switch sides when the player's looking up as opposed to down. And clearly I made a change to one set of sprites and not the other. So I kind of messed that up, and I guess I didn't go back on it. I did notice that comment though as I was getting ready. So okay, here we go. Let's see. I'm liking the brick so far. I'm going to just take this generic brick. I'm going to fill it in real quick on some of these little areas that still have old bricks, just to kind of get this going. And what's nice about a brick pattern is you can keep it pretty generic, and the repeatingness of the pattern isn't going to bug people too much, especially in a pixel art game. But it is nice to have some variation. Okay, so there's my clean walls. Let's just get a few more of these kind of gunky looking bricks. In fact, I'm just going to take that left corner of that one and I'm just going to click this in a few places. And then I'll just pick a couple other spots that I like. Like that's a fun little shape, that little notch right there. This is this is like the quick way. If you ever had to do art or visuals in a more production kind of setting where you have to be quick, then sometimes you resort to using solutions that are quick but aren't always awesome. I don't know if that makes sense. But just going to add some spots in here and lines. Okay, so there's our brick wall. That's a pretty good start. What we can do now is just clear off. We don't need these pieces that are jutting out from the sides. So just with this right now, right, we could obviously take this whole section and just draw a wall, right? So just with those two tiles, we could obviously use that in the game and create a wall. I'm going to go ahead and draw a wall because I think it's going to be nice to have some walls that have decorations on them. Jim says he's trying to catch up on videos. Just now adding character stats after starting in the beginning of January. Yeah, nice. And my videos are my way of doing things, and I hope you guys learned from it. But I also hope some of you kind of go, hey, I want to do this a different way. And if you do, share it. There's lots of ways to do things. I'm not done with these walls yet, I realize, though, because remember, I just turned this on. I want my wall to come most of the way down here. So I'm going to take just a random section of 2 bricks tall. Yeah, right there. And I'm just going to paint this in. Oh, no, 1 brick tall. I only want 1 brick. Let's see, marquee tool. Okay, there we go. So now what we can do to finish off our wall, right, is let's add a little bit of that element that makes it look like there's a nice corner. Because right now we've got this really hard edge here, and it doesn't look terrible, but it also doesn't look awesome, right? So let's see. I'm going to start with just taking this dark color, and I think I'm just going to click solid line across, just like that. maybe across both. Even just that little bit adds something, okay? But we can take this further. I'm just going to deepen and darken that color a little bit further. Boom. So we get a nice dark. And I'm even going to add some of this to where these, you know, these floorboard lines kind of connect underneath the wall. And that's going to help add a little bit of depth of some sort, right, to what's going on here. Yeah, I like that. Gives a little bit more character, a little bit of something, something. And then, I don't know, let's take this light color and just add some little bits in here to soften this. Rin says you don't really understand coding yet, but you added a new state to your side scroller. Awesome. That's great. That's great progress. I'm even going to take this dark color and actually this, you know, we've got this middle color. I'm going to just click a few of these into the grooves of the floor. Just a little bit of variation can go a long way sometimes, you know, into making these grooves feel a little bit less, I don't know. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. But regular. Okay, there we go. Now we could have more of a shadow, like a cast shadow if we wanted to, but I just wanted to add some depth. I need to save this sprite somewhere though, because right now we're not saving it anywhere. So let's go to, where's my game dev folder? Game dev, and I think some of you saw, I'm not actually saving a lot of the sprite work in my AARPG tutorial repository or anything. I have another folder where I do a lot of my art. And I'll just call this like shop interior maybe. We're going to have an outside, an exterior. Lee says it's nice to see someone else work in Aseprite after spending so much time in it yourself. Learning some new things too. Hey, awesome. Yeah. People develop their own ways of doing things, and that's good, but it's nice to learn something new too. Let's see. Okay. So I think the next thing I want to do, you know, looking at our typical rooms, we do have like this fading to black that we put on the edges of our areas to kind of enclose them, right? Kind of center the player's view on what's inside. And then we've also got corners. Like if we want to keep this Zelda 3D-ish, pseudo 3D kind of view, we might need to make corners like this as well. And there's my player. Let's see. So I wonder if we should do that now, or we should do this top edge. Let's do the top edge. So I'm going to just come in here. I'm just going to select that area. And then I just need a color. And I don't like straight black very often, personally. So I'm just going to use this dark blue purpley color that's on the default Aseprite palette. And then what we can do is maybe just take these brick shapes and extend them. I don't know. Oops. Turn on my contiguous fill again so I can just fill that area. That's probably too thick. But I just like giving a hint of a top edge of these things. It's kind of nice, I guess. I haven't listened to much of this music before. It's actually not bad. Some of it's pretty good. Okay. And yeah, we probably need a little bit more shading in there, don't we? So let's take our dark color and just darken it a little bit. Finish off these. Have a dark edge. You know, you might think it would be nice to make the tops of these light as if the sun's coming down from the top. I'm just being careful not to create something that's going to be uber distracting. In fact, looking at the dungeon, I'm not sure I like the white trim thing we did on these. Not a big fan. I do kind of like this fade It was a little bit sloppy, but maybe we do something like that here. I don't know. So we've got our red walls. Okay. You can see the top brick here. We probably need to do something. I don't know. And I'm probably noodling way too much on this, but this is just fun. Okay. Keep my preview over here. I gotta make my preview fit this a little bit better so I can... There we go. That's nice. I'm actually okay with this right now. I think the only thing is like maybe I will take some black and just draw an edge along that. And then I'm going to drop it to 50. Draw another edge. And drop it to roughly quarter opacity. Boink. Just to give it that little fade. Totally unnecessary, but I like that. I like how it looks. Except maybe I want to extend it a few pixels. So if we look at the tiles, you can see, right, these tiles go just off into black. So we're going to need somewhere a tile that's just this solid color. We can create that somewhere. But because I can see this needing a lot more space, I'm going to go ahead and increase my sprite size. So I'll just go to canvas size. If you do sprite size, it'll scale the sprite, but we don't want that. We just want to add, we just want to add tiles to it. I've been drinking Mountain Dew this morning. This is not a paid advertisement, by the way. I just love some Mountain Dew every now and then. It's making me burp, though. Okay, so I'm going to go with a width of 512 for now. We can always increase it. Now, this is a good thing to learn. When you're changing your canvas size, you can see it's kind of extending it to the left and the right. In fact, let me just make it 512 so that it extends all directions. These little controls just show where to expand from. So if you click the top left, right, then it adds pixels to the right and the bottom. And you can just move this around. And this is pretty handy because sometimes you might want to just add pixels to the top or whatever. I'm going to just start at the top left like that. Say okay. Do the do. Do I like blue Red Bull? I don't ever drink Red Bull, but so I don't know. Can you drag the blue edges when resizing canvas? Oh, I don't know. I've never tried that. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Oh man, yeah, you can. Oh, he's saying you can drag it. I thought he asked if you could. Yes, that's actually pretty handy. I do like to type in my numbers because I want it to be very precise usually, but that's pretty cool. Okay, so man, the corners. So if we've got a room, let's make a room around this little thing. So it's just going to be a tiny little, crappy little room. Mountain Dew used to be the only way to get any water in my body, says Jim. Oh no. Yeah, James, I wish I could get off drinking these things. I just like it, but sometimes there are days when I say, I wish I didn't have a craving for Mountain Dew today. I mean, I don't drink it too often, but more often than I would like. It's a quick and dirty for sure. Oh yeah, for just resizing the canvas maybe is what Rin's referring to. Okay. I don't want to like spend too long on these walls, but crap, I don't know. Let me think for a second. Yeah, I think we should make at least one corner. We could flip it. The thing about walls and doing the sides is you get into this situation where you got to get the colors looking decent. And I actually made some missteps in this dungeon that to this day drive me nuts. But you know, I'm not trying to release a game with that right now. I'm trying to release tutorials, so I just went with it after, because you know, I didn't notice it until after the fact, I guess, right? Until after I had already put the video out there. So I'm just gonna draw a line across this and screw it all up. Okay, I want to get the marquee tool. I want to select this whole piece of floor. And I'm just gonna copy. Nope, that's not copy. I want to Control C, Control V. So I've got this section of flooring here. And if you hit Shift V, it'll flip it vertically. And then we can just plop it down here, the bottom side. Okay. And there we go. Now the only The only thing you might want to consider is you might want the shading on the walls down here to be different. Otherwise, it looks really confusing. It's like an optical illusion, right? Because it's like a wall and then a floor and a wall. This looks like a stair step or something. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to say, okay, let's assume the wall in front of the player, like on the tops of rooms, is kind of lit. Then maybe the one on the bottom is less lit, much like I've done in this dungeon here, right? So if we look at this this is basically what we're creating, is a boxed in area. Okay. So I think one of the easiest ways to do this would be to use that hue and saturation shift that I think it was Rin mentioned. I'm going to make sure I've got the right layer. I'm going to take my marquee tool and I'm just going to select the wall portion, just like that. And Control U will pull up this hue and saturation. There's a couple other adjustments we could do, but this has, I like the HSV style personally. So we've got hue, which will change the color kind of. And I don't really want to change that too much, although I'm going to drop it a little bit negative. You can see it gets a little bit bluer. I'm going to just drop it to like negative 5 for now. Saturation, how much saturation? We probably don't want to adjust that here. And I don't know if there's a way to, so value will lighten or darken. So this is the simple way to do just this, make it darker. So this is the cheap way. So let's drop this bottom wall to maybe somewhere around, ooh, I don't know, negative 30 maybe. And then the alpha we don't need, but that just does transparency if you need that. You can also do this per channel. Like if you just want to modify, in fact, this can be really fun. Like this is not a great example to do it on, but if we just say the green channel, if I boost the saturation, you can see, it's not a great example. There's not a lot of green. Blue, is there? It's not doing much with blue because there's not much in the blue channel, right? So anyways, now that I've messed that up. Oh, is this just turning on? Yeah, no, it is modifying. Okay, I want to, I want it to go back to all. What did I do? I just was screwing around and kind of lost track of what I was doing. Okay, the value. All. Okay, is it working better again? There we go. I think I still had one of those clicked. That's one thing I don't love about, especially with the dark UI. It's kind of hard to see which of these you have clicked or not. I'm going to drop this. I can't remember where I had it, but I'm going to go back to negative 40 maybe. There we go, Rin. You got some Control U in there. I like that. I think there's, is Control L for levels? What's levels in? There's got to be a level adjust, right? I mean, I used to work in Photoshop tons, and I still do quite a bit, but I don't treat, here's adjustments. We've got brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, and color curve. So brightness and contrast, this is obvious. This is just going to lighten and darken or increase contrast, right? Or decrease it. And then what was the other one? Control M for the curves. Curves and levels are similar. This is a tricky tool to explain, but essentially you've got your dark colors to light, and what you can do is, like, let's say you want all your light colors to get darker. You could come up here and drag this down. Should work, right? Is that not working? Not working how I thought? I guess most of my colors are pretty dark in value right now, so it's only affecting those, but yeah, curves can be cool. I don't care to use curves in here though, in Aseprite. Some people probably will, probably swear by it. Okay, top wall, bottom wall. Oh no, I hope that's working. It'll work better once we get the sides and the other things in there, right? So let's do this real quick. We've only got space for 2 tiles on the left and right, so I'm just going to grab a 2 tile section. And then just rotate it. If you use the free transform, right, just click in the corner and rotate. If you hit shift, it'll constrain it to 45 degrees. Problem with this one is the flooring section is not right? I mean, we need to change this little piece. So I'm going to just come over here and I'm going to grab, how many pixels of floor do we need? Let's get 3 pixels. So 1, 2, 3 in, just like so. And I'm gonna I'll do a Control B. What did I do? Why I know get the floor. Let's try it again. I don't know what I did. Oh, it's because the floor is beneath it. I'll just do a Shift Control C to copy that. That's why. Okay. What is happening? There we go. Pasted it over there on the other side. Okay, so this is just going to help us get this floor to kind of match up. But then what we probably want to do is I'm going to take my regular brush, and I selected like nothing. So I made like a nonsense paint brush. I'm just going to add some darker colors in here. And actually, man, I feel like I need an in-between color maybe for this piece. I'm just going to click that all the way down. This one in here. I don't know what I'm doing. Just drawing some colors in there. You can see how it's looking over here. That little spot I messed with looks pretty goofy. I'm going to just get rid of that. And I'll probably just get this. I'm probably just not going to have any of the highlight over here. Okay, there we go. Now, this does not account for the corner yet, right? But that's okay. We've got our sidewall. Jim likes the pixel art simplicity. You got Aseprite a few weeks ago? I think I've mentioned, some of you know this about me after watching some of my videos, but started my career as a graphic designer and went from a Adobe Photoshop lover to, I don't know, something of a hater at this point. I really just don't care for Adobe, and their software is still the best in the industry for what it does. But it's also super bloated and quite expensive. And each time I upgrade Photoshop, for every cool new feature, something that I used to do, that I used to enjoy doing, becomes less fun and slower. And like, I don't know, it's just weird. I can't quite explain it. So the sidewall should be kind of darker too, right? Let's go ahead and do that. Control U and just drop the value. I think I dropped the other one by about 40. So I'm going to do this one roughly in the middle. Sure, -22 sounds good. Yeah, too expensive. There is a really great, it's called Photopea, and it kind of mimics Photoshop, and it's free to use, and you can run it in your browser. It will be kind of slow sometimes, and I don't know how well it will work on various PCs. You know, it might have performance issues. Sorry guys, my throat is not ready for a live stream today, apparently. Try Photopea out though. I actually used it to make the thumbnails for this channel for like the first couple months, because I was just thinking like, man, I would love to get off Photoshop. Sadly, it didn't quite get me off, but it almost did. It's good enough. It's good enough that I could have stuck with it. Okay, I'm going to take this wall. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this section of this wall. We need to make these corners. I didn't want to make the whole stream about walls, but here we go. We're doing it. I'm going to paste this in here. I'm going to drag this up. Okay. We need to get a diagonal version of this wall here. So I'm going to paste it once more, drag it up once more. If we look at how this corner is going to go, it's going to go to right here, right? So if I take my eraser tool and just click, not in this corner, but right outside of it, and then hold down Shift and come down here, boink, and go up 1 pixel, should give us a nice line through there. I'm going to do this a couple times just to kind of build up the thickness. You know what I should be doing? I should be using the lasso tool. So there's this lasso tool here. I can hold down, I can click and hold Shift and click. Oops. Apparently I don't remember how to use this lasso tool. Why no click more? Somebody help me. It's kind of embarrassing. I guess I just don't use this enough. Oh, there we go. I got to click. Okay, ready? So what you do is, okay, you click, hold shift and click and drag. Then click and drag. Then release or click. There. Just delete that. Got a nice corner. And then I'm going to make a new layer. I'm just going to stick it right behind layer 3. And I'm just going to grab this section of wall here. Not going to risk looking like a fool again. Shift Control C and paste that. Paste it in this layer. I think I pasted it in this layer. Okay, so I'm going to be behind. Look at that. Didn't even have to do any cutting. Just jump. Perfecto. Jim is still using CS6. No subscription, which is a plus. Yeah, they let you do that nowadays, huh? The Polygon Lasso. I can't read your name, person with a rainbow vomit. You're very grateful for my work. Thank you. I'm grateful for you guys following along. Okay, I just want to kind of darken this little corner piece in between here. So I'm going to take the darkest color on that. And just get my brush. Do I have a brush going here? What's going on with my brush? I guess I got to get on the layer so I can see it. And just shift click right down the middle. Boink. Okay, so you can see, I mean, that worked pretty good with that minimal amount of work, right? You could add some, we could add some shading in here, but, you know, like go through with these colors. The benefit to that's going to be pretty minimal. So yeah, your mileage may vary. I don't know if it's even worth it. Let me just try doing a shift click all the way down and see how that looks. Yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm going to just leave it. I'm just going to leave it as is. And then I'm just going to take this color and do a little corner piece right there. I don't know. What do I need to do with this? I need some corner here. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Just coloring, I guess. Little corner piece. And then all we really need to do now, we do need to kind of take these colors that we've got here. Right? And I'm going to actually merge this down. Oh, okay, because I keep selecting the wrong piece of stuff. There we go. Just going to do that. And plop that in there. And then I'm just going to come in here and go back to my square brush and just finish this off. Kind of connect the dots on those colors. And now I can take this blue and just fill that in. There we go. We've got a corner. So we can just repeat this process. We do need to do it again for here, but then once we get this left wall complete, it's going to look fine to just take this and flip it. Okay. And in fact, I should say, you know, I don't know that I would do this because usually the left and the right, you do want some differences, but there is a new way to work with sprite sheets. You can actually now flip tiles in a sprite sheet pretty easily in Godot 4 as of 4.3, I think is when they introduced it. So, kind of handy. So you might only need to make, you know, one half of things and then you can just flip it to the right for the other. Probably more useful for platformers, but it also depends on the style of your artwork. So let's just finish this out. I'm going to just try and knock this out as quick as I can. I'm going to try and use this stinking lasso tool again. See if I can do it better this time. Oops. Okay, I can't see where I want it. Yeah, sure. Thought I clicked. Clickety click. You guys, I'm so bad at this tool. Click. Click and drag. You got to click and start the drag, and then you can come up here and then click and drag again. And then once you get that straight, click. I guess I should have got rid of this floor too. Now I'm gonna make another layer again, just so I can get this dark wall behind it. Booyah. Got my little corner piece. Does not have to be perfect. And I mean, I don't even know if that copying and pasting these are pretty easy to draw. Let's just create a little shape here. I need to merge these two layers again though. Right click, merge down. Boom. I'm going to take this whole right hand side and let me try that again so I can get the right selection. And I'm going to do a Control B. Can I? Oh. And oh wow, okay, this is fun. I'm going to do Shift H to flip the canvas horizontally. Apparently, I thought I could flip the brush. I just learned a new trick. And then I just need to paint this in here. Nice. Now I can hit Shift H again. And we're back. That was kind of weird. That's a good way to do it though. Okay, we've got a room. So obviously you would draw this bigger, but we've got our corner pieces. We've got some floor. The only thing that you need to make sure you do when you draw a section like this is you need to take your background color and you need to make sure you have a solid block of it. Or not your background color, but whatever your dark color is, right? And my brush is that crazy thing. Okay. So just make sure you've got a tile that you can use in case you need to draw just black squares. Make sure you've got one. And let's see. Okay. So the fun thing is now we get to do some decorating. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take, oh, I've got something going on here though. Hold on. See, this is where I screwed up. I flipped that whole thing sideways and now my highlights are going the wrong way. That's actually not good, is it, guys? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to probably, I hate to do it, but I got to delete some of this. Because I didn't think about the highlights. And then you can click. Oh my gosh. I didn't know you could hold Alt to rotate that tool. But you can. I'm going to do the subtraction mode for the selection. I'm going to take this little corner. Did I not click on subtraction? There we go. Unfortunately, I've got to redo the corners. This part looks okay. Corner's not so good, right? And actually, now that I'm being nitpicky, I never really finished this corner because I need this dark piece. Yeah, at least need that. That gives it a lot. Just that one line. Yeah, dang it. Not loving that. And I don't like that middle click selects when I'm using that tool. I want to be able to middle click and pan. Okay, let's get this little section. No, I'm so bad at this tool. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did it. Nice. Oh, except I didn't click. Okay. Got to redo that piece. And we got to redo the section up there. I probably could have done the same thing and cut that out. But, okay. Make a new layer, go behind. get this sucker going. What am I doing? Why is it not selecting? Because I have subtract on. There we go. I feel like I've had more issues using Aseprite today than normal. It must be the curse of streaming. Okay, that looks all right. I'm going to do the same thing here real quick. I'm going to just put my top wall over there. Okay, so this is all on this layer behind, right? So now I can come into my layer 5 and just finish this wall. And I need to do, let's see, I need to take this whole section over here. Plop it up there. And you know what? I'm just going to use the eraser tool, make it a square. I'm just going to start here because trying to use that lasso is embarrassing. There we go. Except I didn't want to race that far into it. Dang it. Thwarted on every turn. Trying to be sneaky. I'm just holding shift after I click. I just can't go too far into that other wall or I'm going to lose my wall. Is that good? Looks good. Now I can just finish this little section off. Awesome. This dark color. Draw that all the way up, except I did that wrong. There we go. I did it wrong again. What am I doing wrong though? Maybe I'm not. Yeah, look at that. I erased badly. Poorly. Okay, that's better. Okay. So, Borgor, this is for the tutorial series, Action RPG tutorial series. We're going to be adding a shopkeeper, so I'm making some assets to use for a shop that we're going to build in the tutorial series. GameFi says I make it look easy. Well, thank you, I guess. It's not easy. Obviously, I'm making mistakes too, but I've done some of this stuff enough that it is kind of second nature to just come in here and draw some things. Like anything, it's just kind of a skill. I don't know if you guys can even really see the differences in some of these colors as I'm drawing right now, but took a chunk out of my stuff there. But let's merge that down before I fill that. I want to do, is it Control M? Nope. Control Shift M? Nope. I don't know how to merge down. Okay, merge down. Right click, merge down. I don't even know what I was saying now, but just gotta practice this stuff, and it gets easier with time. So I think we should have some fun now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take probably just a section of wall and floor. Let's get my grid on. I just want to be able to paint in an area where I can. Oh, I got a little bit of the corner there. And you know what? I don't have. Okay, let's do a Shift Control C. And then I'll do a Control V. I'm just going to drag this down here. Make sure I don't mess anything up. But what I want to create, now I can do Control B now that I got it all in one layer, is I just want to create a section where I can kind of paint in what the shop is going to look like. Because maybe you have generic interiors that use this asset, but maybe you have some things that are, I don't know, excuse me, less generic. And one thing I'm thinking is we can use, so I think it was James Nye asked if I ever use the, like the symmetry tools when I'm drawing. And I do. And so let's turn on this horizontal symmetry. And right now that horizontal symmetry line, you can see when you turn it on, you see these little white lines, those mark where it is. Here, let me turn off my grid. Okay. So you can see that line, right? That's my line of symmetry. And what's nice about this is when you draw, it draws on both sides of that line of symmetry. And you can have a vertical and a horizontal one, right? I don't know how many of you guys had a spiroscope as a kid. Okay, but these are pretty handy tools for drawing. And I'm going to turn off the vertical symmetry. There we go. And undo these lines. So what we can do with this, though, is we can use this to make cool decorated pieces. So for example, let's take, I'm going to turn on my grid again so I can kind of see. But I want to take this wall and I want to give like, maybe we've got some decorated versions of the wall. And so maybe it has something like decorated wood archways or something like that. So I'm going to take this brown. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put a layer above. I'm going to make this big for a second. I'm just going to come in here and start painting. So we're going to have like a wood beam on top, right? And then maybe, I don't know if it's an archway or if it's like angles or something, but I think an archway would be cool. So we could obviously use the circle tool. In fact, maybe we will. Let's do this. Let's just make a circle. Which, when you do that with symmetry, that's kind of odd, right? But you can tell I've got it perfectly centered if I get it to line up, like so. I need to make that, maybe, can I make that bigger? I can, but then I got to go to the side. Oh my gosh, I hit that Alt key. Well, I didn't mean to. Okay. So what I want is I want a circle like about like this. There we go. Now I can just come in here and I'm just going to delete the bottom half. Everything works with the symmetry tool, even my marquee select, which is kind of cool, but can also be kind of annoying. Okay, so I've got this little archway shape. Let's go ahead and do this kind of a thing. And I'm going to take a lighter color actually and just fill that in right there. Okay. So let's pan my preview. Here's the archway. It's looking pretty ugly right now, you know, so bear with me though. It'll look a little bit nicer, I hope. Then what we can do is like, I think I would want these edges to stay light colored, but it's nice because I'm getting it on both sides, right? And if you don't like how one of these edges look, just come in there, fix it, fixed on both sides. Oh, super nice. Very super nice. And this archway would probably stick out a little bit. Even my little paint bucket is getting both sides of that. You see that? So we don't have outlines around everything on this tile map, but I'm kind of drawing this with an outline. And then what's going to happen, I mean, you're seeing that it doesn't have an edge here, but this is something that's going to become tileable. Like you would just draw these next to each other. And alternatively, we could go in here and we could create something like this. Like if it ends, you know, if the archway ends. But this section that's right in the middle of this arch, you could just like repeat multiple of those. And what we need to do to make this look nice and look believable is I'm going to paint in like some shadows real quick. And this symmetry tool makes this part pretty slick and easy. I'm just going to click and hold shift to create some lines in here. And probably don't want too many of these light lines up here at the top of the arch where we've got our shadows coming in. One thing that doesn't work well though with symmetry mode is painting these highlights and shadows, right? Because you can see that they don't line up. So I'm gonna have to come back and do that after. But at least getting this basic stuff in. Okay. One thing that's kind of hard to wrestle with when doing art for this style of top-down game is kind of getting your perspective right, because it's not quite realistic, you know, it's a little bit off, and that can cause, I don't know, kind of issues when you're trying to figure out where to place things and whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and just take this light color. I'm going to do something like this. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. That's not good enough. Could put a line over here. I'm curious how many of you that are following along with the Action RPG tutorial series are actually making an Action RPG game. I don't know. You give a shout out with what kind of game you're hoping to make and, you know, what kind of things you're looking to learn. I'm just trying to, I don't know what I'm trying to do. Round this out, make it look nice. I guess I'm getting rid of all this. Just doing 1 pixel thick. Okay. Now, we've got this beam. This is supposed to be a beam up here, wasn't it? I'm going to take this brown color. And I'm just not sure I've got the colors right, because this should be darker because it's not the floor, where the light would be probably strongest on the floor, assuming that the light is above. I don't know what kind of lights they have in my fantasy world, but they've probably got a lamp on top that's shining down on the ground. James has been working on, yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, if you're not in Discord, James and I has an awesome, like, NES Zelda remake that is really cool. Okay, what do I need to do with the colors here? You know what we could do? Use our Control U. Just drop this a little bit. Maybe boost the saturation a tiny bit. Oh, why? I had this all on. I only want to do it to the selected layer. That was my problem earlier. I clicked this to apply to all, mixing it with the channels. I only want to adjust the selected layer. Okay, there we go. A little bit darker. Jim's playing Diablo and Stardew Valley a lot and making a cross between them. Not entirely sure yet. Yeah, you know, if I had one regret about my Action RPG tutorial series, it's that it gets a little bit, it's getting a little bit big. I mean, you know, we're building a game that could be really large, and for a beginner, especially if you're working by yourself, not always super realistic to make the biggest game, right? I mean, sometimes it's better to just make a smaller game that's limited in feature and scope, so that you can kind of get a feel for making games. You know, when you look at like Concerned Ape, that's basically a one-man team, but he's spent years working on Stardew Valley, and I think he's quite experienced before he did that. I don't know. Teal Murgy's about to start episode 34. Okay, NPC stuff. Yeah, the art part. And if you get stuck with the art part, you know, sometimes this is where having a team can be pretty important. Jim doesn't want to make a clone anything, just start small and add to it. Yeah. And to be fair, that is, I guess, kind of what we're doing with the Action RPG series, just kind of building stuff onto it. But it could become aimless if I'm not careful. There are some people going above and beyond the tutorial with their own made assets and good takes. Yes, James, I've seen some of those in the Discord channel. There's some awesome stuff that people are doing. In fact, I think it'd be really fun to do a showcase of what people are building. I'll have to see if I can get that started in the Discord. You know, we could just sit and look at what people are building. I could pull up some projects that people send and just play around, play some people's games. That'd be pretty fun. Okay, I am really dilly-dallying on this sucker. Okay, let's get this thing going. Let's say this arch, I want some sort of decoration in here. So I'm just going to come in here and like paint this. And what's nice about this mirror thing is I can just kind of come in here and be quick and fast and loose. And it'll just repeat on the other side. So it's going to look nice and symmetrical when we're all done. Juvik says if it was up to him, I would never end the series and just keep going or start some point another series in another genre, like a platformer. Yeah, I actually have. I haven't taken the plunge, but I have a little platformer project. I've considered starting a series in the same vein. So with a platformer where we just go through and say, okay, we're making a platformer, starting with those. And I will likely do that. There's a couple other genres too that I kind of want to tackle. It's funny because I'm not the biggest fan of platformers. But a lot of my projects that I've put out there on itch.io, or pretty much everything on itch.io, with the exception of a couple things, they're like all platformers, but they're more Metroidvania. So that's the hook that gets me into a platformer sometimes, is that Metroidvania angle, you know, because I don't love precision. I say this, but I can still get hooked in them sometimes, but I don't love precision platformers. And that was actually one of the hardest things I had working on my first couple team projects, is we were making Metroidvanias, but the guys I was working with, who are awesome, they're big into precision platformers. And so they're always wanting to like make rooms with complex platforming puzzles and grab the wall and it just didn't grab me, and I lost interest in that stuff. And I was like, guys, I don't want to make that. I don't want to work on something else. So that's sometimes, you know, sometimes having a team can be difficult, but a turn-based RPG series like Final Fantasy. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. And I showed some artwork last stream that comes from one of my personal projects that I've kind of been working on. And I've actually kind of restarted that in my free time. Eric, it's a what am I trying to say? It's a top-down RPG, but with turn-based strategy combat. So kind of think Fire Emblem. It's inspired by the Sega Genesis series Shining Force. That's kind of what got me thinking along those lines. And I'd love to do that one. I kind of stopped working on it at some point because I wasn't sure I had the best approach to my battle system. And so since I've revisited it, I've tried to clean that up a little bit. I don't know if I'll make a series about it though, because it is kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's maybe fairly niche, and I could spend a lot of videos just doing things that people might not be interested in. Pokemon. Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay, I've just been noodling while I'm talking, but here we go. I'm going to just add some highlights to this bad boy. And then we're going to have something going there, right? Now, one thing I like to do to give my shapes a little bit more form is like along the top edge where the form turns, like on a corner, is just add a little bit of a highlight, just like that. And you could do the same thing on the bottom side for shading, but there might not be a ton of that. And one way to do that is just determine where one of these lines is, and just 1 pixel down from every dark line, draw a light line like that. You see how it does that nice little, makes it look kind of 3-dimensional. Pretty cool. Contra style platformer. That's another one that James Nye has some pretty cool videos about. He's been making a Contra clone as well, I think. And yeah, Contra's awesome. Let's just give this a little bit more decoration. And then we'll wrap this up and move on to some more interesting decorations for the room. I'm gonna give this like, I don't know what this is exactly, but like maybe it's like a groove. This, whatever this music is right now that's playing, it's very, very fun. Hey Umbra, how you doing? Okay, let's see. How do I want to finish this little shape off? It's gonna need some of these highlight pixels. Like so. I'll even grab one of these bright ones and throw that in every now and then. Perfecto. Muy bueno. That was like Italian accent Spanish. So for those of you who are neither. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm liking this. I think the last thing I want to do is I just want to add some, this is like filling like a rounded column. So let's go ahead and make it rounded. Let's see. What I'll do is I'll just take this highlight and decrease the opacity one more time. And now this is a spot where I could just draw it in here, but the mirroring is not doing me any favors because we want the highlights to stay on the left or the right, right? So let me undo that. I'm going to turn off this Where's my horizontal? Oh, it is off. I just can't tell because the grid line was there. Okay. So yeah, turn off that mirroring mode. Make sure that's not on. There we go. Then when we come in here and draw our highlight, it will only do it on this side. We're just going to have to go do this on both sides. I'll give it a little bit of a rounded feel. And then I'm going to take this color and decrease the opacity a tiny bit. Do something similar. Just part way up, maybe. Maybe even not. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll just do it down here. Okay, now we can do the same thing over here. I got to grab my little highlight, little shimmery shim. And I'll just probably go to right about there. I don't know, I gotta end this somehow. Okay, cool. Nice, yes, Umbra, there's another video. Borgart, I think I answered this earlier for somebody, but the art is for my action RPG tutorial series. Okay, so I'll be honest, I'm not like super thrilled about this, but it looks okay. And so one thing that I wasn't doing earlier, I didn't finish this off, but you know, still want some of these highlights to show through. And one easy way to keep highlights without, because you don't really want this bright highlight all the way in. You see how gross that looks over here? It's like way too bright. So I just pick like the regular color or one of these colors and use that for the highlight area. If that makes sense. Draw some of these lines a little bit darker. I'm going to get rid of a few of these highlights up here in the top row. Just doing the same thing like I did with the flooring. Just add a little bit of, and I guess I could be doing some of this with the mirroring turned on, but I'm not, so whatever, it'll work. There we go. Just a little bit of hints of shadow. And we should probably take this darker color and do some work with this too. You know, we've got some in-between colors here. Just kind of soften those edges. Ooh, yeah, that's good. Yes. I like how that looks. Okay. And you could, I mean, you could really just noodle. I call it noodling, where you're just kind of playing around. You could noodle with this stuff for hours. And I'm going to leave that to you guys or to myself later on. We need to finish this top beam though. So I'm not going to turn on my horizontal symmetry for this because I don't want to have the top beam be too symmetrical. But let me take this light color and draw a line across. Let's finish this beam. I think this is the bottom will be this color. This will be my drop shadow underneath here. I don't really love this dark edge out here. I think it should all just be this purple. I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me do this. Let me turn off contiguous and let me just fill this with purple. It's just a shadow. And then I probably do want to add it back here. Yeah, that looks a little bit better, I think. Juvix has to go. Yes, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, buddy. We'll see you around. Enjoy your dinner or whatever you're off to. Okay, so this beam, the beam's going to be thicker than the wall, so I'm going to make the edge kind of go up a little bit further as well. And then we'll pick dark color here. Oh no, I want that to be contiguous. Okay, there we go. Just give this a little bit of something. Give it some of this wood grain pattern like we've got on the floor. Dude, someone's mad riffing on the guitar, bro. Okay, a little bit of something here. And then I'll take the light color, not quite as, yeah, that'll be fine. No, too much. Just want a subtle highlight on some of these groove bits. You can see over here what that's doing. It's kind of giving a little bit of a highlight. To make those look more like grooves in the wood. So the grain is very rough. And voila. I think we got to check and make sure that those tile all right. Let's do that real quick. Right, because in fact, I've extended this probably too far. And I'm going to turn off my grid here. And I'm just going to check and see how this looks. Yeah, it looks pretty good. We just need the drop shadow underneath that beam and then it'll look great. I'm just looking at the clock and I noticed it's 1:09 my time. Been going for a while. And unfortunately, I can't go forever. But let's finish this up here. Yeah, a little bit of a drop shadow underneath the wood there. And I can just go ahead and select this. I was hoping I would start drawing my shopkeeper today. I don't know when I'm going to do that. I guess I can't flip that. Something's off though there, huh? What do I got to do? That's got to go right there. Delete that. Okay. A little bit of a decorative wall. So you can do this with your walls. You can just keep adding sections. This particular section can be repeatable because when we make our tile sheet, right, we could have, boom, right here. And if I were to come in here, right, and draw these side by side, then you get a nice, nice repeating pattern on the wall. And then you can just end it. I think what I would do if I were going to keep working on this arch right now is I would, I'd just come in here and I would give some nice way to end the arch. I don't know, some sort of support or something. No goldfish. Maybe I'll spend some time on the goldfish. Now, I think one thing I'd like to do, speaking of goldfish, is I still want to take this, some of this wood that we've got. What layer is it on? Layer 6. It's funny that we have layers 1, 2, 6, and 7. But I'm going to go ahead and... Whoops. Oh, did I just learn a new trick? I don't know. Oh, there we go. If you have the marquee tool and you control and double click with the grid on, look at that. It selects just one grid piece. That's pretty nifty. Okay, but what I want to do is I just want to grab all of this and I just want to add more floor. And eventually I'll probably be turning some of this floor off, but right now I just need it for like reference purposes. But let's go ahead and draw some furniture. Right, like we need countertops. And so, if we've got like a shopkeep, I don't know exactly how it would be, but let's say we've got counters. And in fact, I'm gonna get a dark color to start with, and then we'll fill it later. Like I think, I'm just kind of making this up real quick, but we need something that we can use it for counters. And maybe it doesn't have that weird rounded edge that I'm giving it, right? This is on the same layer as the wood, so I'm going to undo all of that because I did not want to do this on the same layer as the wood. Make a new layer. I'm going to call it counter. And now that I know what I'm doing, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about halfway on both of these. And really what we need is like 3 tiles wide. That way we can have a left end, a right end, and a center piece. And then we could draw a counter as wide as we want. Right? So let's go ahead and just like maybe fill that with one of these darker brown colors. And then I don't know what color the top of the counter should be. Maybe we don't want it that color, but I'm going to make the top of this roughly the same size as the, where's our player? That's what we need. We need our player in here for reference. That's why I brought him in here in the first place. Like if our dude's standing at the counter, right? What is that going to look like? So the countertop line, assuming he could get right up to it, should probably be somewhere around here. So let's get a darker color. And let's draw it on the counter layer because that's where it should be. Yeah, something like that will work. So then the top can be a lighter color. I mean, that actually might be too low looking almost. It's tough because my player's kind of got weird proportions, doesn't he? Something like that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to erase a few pixels. Because I want to and because I can. So that there's a little bit of overhang on this counter. And then I just need the countertop to be a different color. I don't know. Or at least I'm wanting it to be for some reason. Like, let's say it's a darker wood, but maybe it's a little bit more red. right? Let me take this color. A bit red, a little bit gray. Ooh, that looks nice. Then if we darken this some more, there we go. Something like that. And then I don't know how rough we want this to be, but I imagine this countertop, I'm going to turn off my player for a second. Could probably have some kind of like rough edges. It's wooden. Right? Something like this. Which means we probably need one more set of lines across it. Okay. Make them a little bit less harsh, a little bit lighter. Just filling those in with the paint bucket tool. And then I'm going to decrease the opacity and create some more lines. I probably don't want these, some of this stuff I drew, I probably don't want it in there. These edges, I don't know. Top of the counter. If we could get a fish in, if we get a fishbowl in, then I'd make Mr. James Nye happy. I think I should have planned out what I was going to stream more and had some of the walls done. But I also kind of wanted to show my process, so I don't know. It's tough. Okay, where the form is turning right here, let's give it that highlight that we did earlier. So I'm just going to get a bright color. That's probably too saturated. A little bit more gray. Ooh, that's pretty bright. Let's see how that looks though. If we go across the whole thing. A little bit too much. A little bit too much. I'm gonna take my color here, just fill it 50%. And then what we can do is take this color and lighten it again, and we can reuse this a few places so that it becomes a consistent little highlighty thing that we got going on. A literal fishbowl. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it was Xanathar. I think I got it this time. Xanathar's Guide to Everything. He's got a fishbowl on his... We showed that concept art, or that... I don't know if it's concept art, but let me show it again for those who weren't here. I don't know where it went. Maybe I won't show it. Oh, there it was. Boom. It's got this fancy little fishbowl. That's kind of cool, right? I'm not going to make the NPC a giant eyeball guy, whatever those are called. What are those called? Beholder? Is that it? Did I get it right? I think it's a beholder. Okay. It's okay. It could be improved, but it's okay. But we see, you get the idea of what we're going for here, right? This countertop. And obviously we would put some shadows down here. But dang, let's make a new layer for the fishbowl. Fishbowl could actually be pretty easy to start. I'm just going to get a solid circle shape. Now that fishbowl was like really illuminated in that example. Let me show that again. Right? It's like super blue. And I love that color too. It's kind of like this color, but a little bit more green, a little bit lighter. Let's say it takes up space about like that. And see, we're drawing it in place, but eventually what we'll do is I'll break these up and I'll like take this out into its own set of tiles so that you could just place it here. You could place it on the floor maybe. Let's go back to that. It's got like a little bit of a gold thing on it. I don't know if it has to have that. That's kind of cool. So if we've got this color and we got a gold base, we'll start with a dark orange. Actually, this would be a great candidate for using this horizontal symmetry tool. Except I already didn't make it symmetrical. So you can just drag that horizontal symmetry line wherever you need it. Boom. There. Now I can just draw this base pretty easily. And this is interesting because this thing is translucent. So the top's going to be kind of probably lit with a bluish highlight. So I'm just going to take this blue color and then just draw that in there. Kind of like that for now. And then we also need some nice, bright, warm gold highlights. Drawing gold in a small area like this, kind of tricky, kind of tricky. But we'll do something with it. I'm going to take some of this red down here. And then underneath it, let's give it a little bit of a shadow so that it looks like it's resting on the table. Now, something that we can do, I'm going to go ahead and actually take this color, drag it to 50%, and I'm going to actually just draw with the 50%. You have to be careful. If you draw again, it'll cover itself up, which actually we can use that to our advantage here, like to soften these edges a little bit. Okay, but what's nice about this is, see, it's still transparent pixels here, so we can just drag and drop that wherever we want. Except that because I drug it off of its center, I'm not symmetrical anymore. But yeah, there we go. I'm not loving what I did there with that blue, but that's okay. Give it some white in the highlight. Maybe some of that blue mixed in. I don't know. I've still got some of it left, but it's kind of goofy. The idea was, though, is that it's picking up some of the light from this fishbowl. And I'm going to draw another circle here. And then what I would like to do I'm not using the circle tool because I don't want to cover up the circle I already made. I'm just kind of roughly drawing a circle. It's kind of glowy. A little bit better. We need the top piece. It's got like a little thing on top, maybe. I don't know quite exactly how that needs to sit. Something like that. Some of this orangey gold in there. What else? We did use some of the blue, but I don't need that on top. I guess I need more. I don't know what color I need. A little bit of a gold toppy top. Yeah, it could be a lamp. The reason I'm making it so bright is because I'm just looking at that, thinking about how this reference looks, where it is kind of lit up somehow. It's like a magical fish. So now we need a fish inside. I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer for this fish. Yeah. Now the fish, I'm going to start with a green, a little bit gray. And oops, got to turn off my symmetry for this, right? The fish is like, now this is fun because we could take this. In fact, what I would want to do is we got to animate this thing. I mean, there's no way, right? You can't have this and just have it still like this. Somebody else wanted a fishing rod in the shop, but so there, fish about that size maybe. and then he could like swim around. In fact, I'm gonna take these 2 layers, and I'm gonna put this in a separate file. So let me just make a new, and this is 32 by 32. And you know, one thing that we're not doing, this file we're not animating, and so we only have 1 frame. We're just going to export it as is. But obviously you could, you know, you could make a tile sheet where you just draw 1 tile at a time and then export it. Oh, what did I even copy? Fishbowl. Here, let me use the marquee tool. Sometimes I mess up copying in Aseprite, and I don't know what it is I'm doing wrong. What did I do? Like, what did I do? What did I even copy? Copy? Okay, there it goes. Okay. And I noticed that this is slightly off center. That's okay. We can fix that. That should be center-ish. The thing is we have like a single point that's centered. If you want something to center perfectly on like one of these sprites, right, it would have to be an odd number of pixels wide, where this is probably even. It's probably like, you know, 24 pixels across or something like that. Now I need my fish. No! I don't want to get rid of the bowl. Okay. There we go. Okay, now here's what we're going to do with this. I would shade this fish a little bit because I want him to look kind of like he's in the water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this color and I'm just going to do some real basic kind of shading. But basically anything that's closer to inside the fishbowl will kind of have some of that bluish hue to it. A little bit of a highlight. And then what we can do is let's just add a new frame. But I'm just going to take this fish. And one thing when I'm animating, when you animate, you kind of have to keep in mind that you don't want to draw each frame of the animation as you go. So if you're not familiar with animation, you have what are known as keyframes, and then you have in-betweens. And kind of like in Godot, when you're setting a keyframe, right, you set like a position and then all the frames in between it get automatically tweened or smoothed by the software. When we're animating by hand, we draw our keyframes first and then we draw the in-betweens. That's kind of how it works. And I'm sorry, my throat is killing me today. So what I could do, I mean, I could keep that fish on there. We could turn on onion skinning as well. And we kind of have to go into the settings and say show in front of sprite. So you can see where the fish was in the previous frame. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to turn off onion skin. We grab the color, turn it back on. So I could say like this fish is like spinning around in the bowl, right? So maybe the middle part of this animation is he's kind of facing that direction. Like here's his tail, right? He'll be a little bit smaller because he's in the back half of the bowl. And now at this point, I'm going to turn off my onion skin and I'm just going to pick these 2 colors. And I'm just going to come in here, paint on him a little bit. Let's go back and forth and kind of get this fish, get him going, get this fish swimming. And then I'm going to turn on my animation here and I'm going to set it to half speed. Obviously that looks goofy, right? So now we got to draw the in-betweens. So what you could do is you could say, okay, how many frames for it to get from here to there? And you could do this based off of how long you want the duration to be and how, you know, what the duration of a frame is, or you can just kind of make it up as you go. And that's okay too. So I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to say new frame. I'm going to delete the fish in this middle frame. I'm going to turn on my onion skinning again. Boom. And, except it seems like, oh no, seems like I'm eyedropping a weird color because of my onion frame. I don't like that. I'm gonna get this color. Okay. So what you can do is you could just draw like the shape in the middle of the process. And you can see that that's kind of smoothing it out. And then if we were to take this frame maybe and make another new frame at the end. What am I doing? So maybe here I'll just go like our fish is swimming back to the front. Right? Now, the thing about this is it's going to be very linear in its animation. It's going to be very smooth, like repeating circle. And so another way we could do this is if I take this and I draw the, if I want to give like a little bit of an animation to maybe how the fish is moving, I can move his tail down here and I can keep the head pretty much where he is on the second frame. And it's kind of hard to tell where he is right now because of the overlay, but let me just turn off onion skinning. So the head's right there. So I do need this head to kind of move a little bit, right? I'm not even looking at the chat right now. You can't make a donation in YouTube. You know what? I don't have that set up. You cannot. But to my own demise, I suppose. You can always try and join Patreon. I should make it so that you can make super chats or something like that in the future, but I appreciate the thought right now. Subscribe to my channel. That's one way to keep me going. Okay, so I'm just moving this a little bit. You see how the fish is, like the head's here, and it just moves up a couple pixels, and the tail's coming down. And maybe I want to, like, move the tail down a little bit more. And then what we can do is, before we get to this frame here in the back, I'm going to go ahead and create another frame. Alt-B creates a blank frame, and I'm just going to copy and paste the fishbowl. And here, the fish is all the way over here. And so what I'm going to do is draw the fish head pretty close to where it ends up, right? And just draw a little blob. I mean, it's just a blob. And this is actually not selling it very well. Bum, 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 bum. I probably need to make this one a little bit more in between than the other ones. And then obviously over here we need more frames than just that one. In fact, I'm just gonna, real quick, I'm just gonna make a couple more frames. So now the fish has got to be coming up to the front of the bowl. I don't know how his tail's going to be. Woo, that's actually looking okay, right? This is not the most intricate kind of animation, but once you got your frames and you're kind of happy with them, then you can just come in here and start adding the other colors. So you'll notice one thing, I didn't really say this explicitly, but when I start animating, I just want to start with blobs, basic blobby shapes, because it's a lot easier to get the motion with the blobs. And if you care about making the fish look like a good fish every frame, your animation might look like crap. And you get done, you're like, oh, now I got to draw all those frames again, right? So don't do that. Don't sit and make your fish look perfect in every frame. Just go through and make a happy blob. And that's one thing that's cool about pixel art is this does actually look kind of cool. And it looks like a fish, but I mean, like, look at that. That is not a fish. I just went in between those and said, okay, there's like a weird smear of a blob and it looks okay. And so one thing that's important about this, and I'll have to do some videos about this in the future where we go into detail, like for your player character, because detail matters more when it's the character you're playing. But those keyframes, if the keyframes look good, the in-between frames can look kind of crappy, right? So I think it'd be nice if this fish had like a frame where he would like get back to here and maybe not swim all the way to the back, right? But hey, there we go. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and save that. A little bit of a fish for our table. So even though I started this asset over here in my shop interior, I can just delete it now because we just created it elsewhere. And now we can bring it in. We could bring it in anywhere. And because this is so glowy looking, I think it'd be fun to even make it have like a light attached to it in the scene. We can do that when we bring it in. We'll do that. And then one last thing I want to do before I stop working on this fish maybe is as he goes back into the bowl, I want him to disappear a little bit more. And so I'm just going to, I don't know, let's see, what's the best way to do this? There's a couple ways we could do it. I'm just going to take a brush with maybe white. Set the opacity pretty low. Except, is there a way for me to... Can I just select... I don't know how to do this. Does anybody know how to select pixels on this layer? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to take my magic wand, click outside, Control-Shift-I to invert it. There, now I'll only paint on this fish. I'm just going to click a couple times with the white so that he kind of recedes back into the murkiness of the bowl. And this one, he can all... Yeah. Oh man, he's so cool. Look at the little fishy. Oh, dang it. What am I doing? I'm painting outside the... Didn't invert it. Okay. I don't know if I'm 100% in love with what I'm doing here. I might be overdoing it a little bit, but I like the idea. Yeah, I knew I missed one. Okay. There we go. Kind of swimming around. And then when we export this, you know, just Control-E, export it as a sprite sheet, and you get your sprite sheet that you can just plop in there and animate it. Stick it on an animated Sprite 2D or something that just plays on loop. Unless you want to mix up the animation, then you could use an animation player like I usually do. But there we go. Bonus animation. Oh, DS Fly Yamada. Oh, you have been on my Patreon. You're just wishing you could make a donation on YouTube. I guess I need to get on that if people want to. It's not something that I guess I anticipate. I don't know. But I appreciate it. Okay, well, there we go. We've got one little fish animation. It is kind of fast, and even if we slow it down, that doesn't look so great. It looks a lot better at a quicker speed. So I would probably try and add a few more frames in there, if it's me personally. And then I would waste way too much time trying to make this fish animation look nice. But it is what it is. So, yeah, I guess what we need is we need like shopkeeper, right? We need... Let me just make a new layer here. And of course, I've got like my alpha turned up. We need a shopkeeper. I was thinking of trying to do some fun dude. Let's turn on our player so he can come talk to this shopkeeper. And one thing when you're creating this stuff, just like I did with my animation, you know, sometimes you can just block in your character. You don't have to make it like super fancy. Maybe you want a guy with big broad shoulders or something, you know, and you could figure it out and just fill in the blanks later. Maybe not. This guy's huge. I can't put him next to the player, but yeah, that guy's huge. The fish could be the shopkeeper, yeah. Or maybe the shopkeeper is an even bigger fish. Anyways. Well, thanks guys for hanging out today. I've got to get running here in a little bit, so I'll just work a little bit more. And then I hope everybody is enjoying the content that I'm putting out. I'm going to try and mix it up too. I've got a couple things that I've been toying with. You know, I made one video about the command pattern, and I do intend to make some other programming patterns for game type videos, you know, like maybe a pooling system and things like that. But I'm going to be doing that. I've also got some other projects, like maybe some fun audio things, like using the spectral analyzer, the audio analyzer to make like a something that responds to the music, whether that be visuals purely for the fun of it, or making the game even respond to soundtracks. And you know, there's just a couple fun things like that that I like to get involved in that don't necessarily fit with the action RPG series, although I mean they could, right? They could be part of it. But I'm going to be doing some other videos like that. But as always, if you guys are in the Discord or if you're in my Patreon, send me a message and let me know what it is you're looking forward to. I'm trying to do my best to build the things that are in the comments. I know that the shopkeeper is one of the big ones. Crafting system would probably come after this. I'm going to be building some more enemies for the game so that we can just talk about different ways to make different types of enemies. Maybe like a flying enemy, like a bat or a raven, you know, that isn't obstructed by the terrain or the ground or walls. Just fun things like that. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. And I'm just going to draw for a little bit. If you've got any last questions for me for the next 5-10 minutes, go ahead and shoot them out there and I'll do my best to answer them. This shopkeeper is something that once I like him, he'll get moved to his own file as well, right? Because he'll probably be animated and whatnot. Let's go ahead and drag him up here. A dragon boss. Ooh. Yeah, I was looking at the Zelda bosses when I made my first boss video. And I thought, how could I make some of these? And I think I got a little bit intimidated by some of them. And then there was some other bosses that I just didn't feel inspired by. I don't know. A dragon would be cool though. This guy's got funky shoulders. I don't know what's up with that. One of the kind of generic kind of bosses that you see in games is, I don't know if it's generic, but the series of balls that are connected, you know, and it like, man, I don't even know how to explain it, but that's what I think of when I think of dragon. Where like the head moves and then the little circular pieces of the neck follow along with it. I did think about doing something like that. Any plans to do a tutorial on animated tiles and dynamic tiles? Oh yeah. You want to get moving water and moving slower on stairs. Oh, that's an interesting thought. No, that's good. I actually have experimented a little bit with tiles where you can make like tie metadata to the terrain and have the player respond depending on what type of terrain you're on, which would be useful for footstep sounds or adjusting your speed. You could also just use like some areas that are tied to the tile map to do some of that though. But yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you, Archie. I do actually have plans to do some of those, and I hadn't made specific plans for animated tiles, but definitely we should do those. Dude, this shopkeeper is looking pretty ripped. Maybe he's a bunny guy. That's weird. Whatever. You guys are just going to have to wait and see what this shopkeeper is. I feel like he's got his arms folded here. And because I'm just blocking this in, I just pick a lighter color, you know, and kind of add some highlights in here. Start making a form up here. I like the I like the stance, though, the pose with the legs. He is huge, though. He's totally like a bunny. I'm going to turn off my symmetrical painting for just a minute. He's like folding his arms. I don't know if that reads very well, but... It's a bunny guy. I actually kind of like that idea. Here, I should turn on my symmetrical editing for this. Something's off over here, huh? There we go. Like, what's that musician's name? Bad Bunny? Dang. I don't know. I'm not loving the neck, but something will work out. He needs some pants, though. Put some pants on, dude. What are you doing walking around without pants? Am I right or am I right? The rabbit from Donnie Darko? Yeah, he is kind of Donnie Darko-ish, isn't he? Well, there we go. Okay, I'm going to hop off, guys. But thanks for joining the stream and participating and chiming in. And hopefully I'll be able to advertise the next one ahead of time as well, so we can just enjoy doing some chill. If there's anything that you guys want to see, especially people that are watching this after the fact, you can drop it in the comments. And then maybe next time I stream, you know, if you want to see a dog man instead of a rabbit man, then we can work on that. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.